Okay, good morning, everyone. We can see that people are joining the session. Welcome. I can see people from different countries already in the room. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. Okay, the number of participants is growing. Good morning, everyone. If anyone could confirm on the chat that you can hear us, that you can see the presentation, we would appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. We are going to start the webinar in 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's officially welcome everybody. We have, I think, most of attendees already here, and we will record the session, so I'm not worrying about people who will join us a little bit later. We have confirmation, Christian, that we are good with presentation and that people can hear us. That's a good information because it's 2025 and still sometimes we have technical issues, but not today. That's a great information. Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Paula Milewska, and I'm a customer success for Central Eastern Europe. I'm working with Elsevier for more than 3 years now. And today, your host for the webinar about Knovel will be Christian Wier, who is our expert in engineering. So, Christian, if you could say a few words about you and what will happen today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Paula. For first of all, setting up this webinar and promoting it. And thank you for all of you for joining this session today. My name is Christian Wier. I'm working for Elsevier now for approximately 8 years, always in the engineering and geoscience portfolio. And I'm planning to show you Knovel today. And this is the first session of in total 4 sessions, and we start with the basics. That's why it's also an introduction to Knovel, and I selected some slides for you. And
so thank you, Christian, very much. And just before I will disappear for a moment, because I want to give the floor to Christian today, I just want to share with the audience information that after the webinar, I think on Friday, just give me a sec to prepare everything. I will send to all of you the recording of the webinar. So don't worry, you will be able to watch it again. You don't need to do any screenshots or anything like that. We will share with you all of the materials. And as Christian mentioned, we have upcoming webinars. So I will also include the invite just in case you are not aware of next sessions. I will inform you in the email as well. So that's all for me, and the floor is yours, Christian. Thank you so much.
Perfect, thank you. I take it over from here, and we will start with a PowerPoint presentation. And again, I'm selected some slides for you to give you some background information on Knovel. But I'm planning to spend most of the time today in the platform to do some live searching, and to also show you some selected features and functionalities. So what we want to do, we're in the middle of the introduction already, and we are moving over into the presentation. I also implemented a video today. This is how Knovel can be used in teaching and learning. So by all means, if you are, if you have students you're teaching to, you can also use Knovel in different ways. If you have questions afterwards, you can also reach out to us, and we will help and explain and elaborate further if needed. We will go over into the live demo then, and in the end, I reserved time for question and answers. So if there's something, for example, in the middle of the presentation that is not clear, or something you would like to see again, maybe make yourself a note, but you can also already add something to the chat box. And again, I will have a look later on and pick it up and see what we can repeat or show you in addition to what I'm planning today. And otherwise, I hope you will come back for the next session. Then we go more into a detail with selected functionalities. So it will be more advanced session next time. Yeah. Big question for you if you never worked with Knovel, if you don't know what it is, why should you use it? And I wanna start even before that. And these days it's not so much about finding information out there in books, journals, or just randomly on the internet. It's more or less finding the right information. And since you are probably all aware of that, there's also a lot of misinformation out there. And William Bromhall illustrated that very nicely, as was, I think, with the four horsemen here, and now with the fifth horseman called misinformation. Most of you probably working in academia or also in the corporate sector. Our solutions are used heavily, and you need to make sure you use the right information, also the high quality information that are out there. So, and I also want to illustrate this with the next search example. And I mean, we all know Google, and Google is really a great tool. And I'm also using it privately to, for example, book my next vacation or do some a general search on something. But if it comes to quality information, it is usually not my first choice. And I want to illustrate that with an example here. I was looking for information around metal fatigue. And what happened is I just searched, and of course I get a lot of results, as you can see here, and nobody could ever go through all these results. But if I see the first results here, I'm getting a hit for computer games, and this is clearly not what I was looking for at this moment. And it's just also very cumbersome to filter further down to really get into information that I'm really needing for example, a study project, a capstone project, for a presentation, or even for my thesis, or even when it comes to research. So this is clearly not what I was looking for. What can happen if you just take random information off the internet or of Google is the following. And we see it can really have serious effects on health, safety, and also the environment. And by all means, we want to avoid that. Also comes to another topic like engineering ethics. So you need to be very aware of the information you're using, because if you're now a student or a researcher and you still want to move into the corporate sector, then you need to make sure you use the high quality information that is out there, and not just random information. With Knovel, you can be sure to use the information that it gives you. And what we're providing with Knovel are trusted, citable information that can inform your decisions. We're also providing you with actionable data from analysis tools, and you can also share your findings either locally with a study group, or also globally with, for example, other students, other researchers. That is also possible through functionalities that we implemented in Knovel. So my point here is, if you're looking for engineering information, you can consider Knovel as your first point to go. Now you probably still have a question, what is now all behind Knovel? What do I get? And I want to show you that on the next slide. So good for you to know is also that it's not only Elsevier content that is available on Knovel. We have now more than 170 different content partners. And the big advantage for you is that you find technical or engineering information from all these publishers and society in just one search and one platform on Knovel. And you probably recognize a few of those logos on here. Like since last year, we also have Springer Nature on the platform, but also AICHE, iChemie, the IET, Wiley, and of course, our own content is also available through that platform. So it's a big advantage for you. You just have one platform and you find the engineering information you need with just one platform. That's Knovel. To give you an idea about the content sources on Knovel, you can see we have more than 13,000, almost 14,000 by the way, full text titles. That's another thing I wanted to mention here. So everything is full text on Knovel. So you won't be linked away to get to the full text. You find it right in the platform, and you can also share it accordingly with your study mates, for example. We're also investing in so-called hot topics. So you see also we added specifically last year, and also this year it will continue, about energy storage, fuel cells and batteries. Renewable energy, of course, is a very big and interesting topic. Sustainable manufacturing technologies, process safety, additive manufacturing, circular economy, the durability of materials, material sciences. So of course, artificial intelligence, data sciences, computer security and packaging. So these were last year our focus, and also we continue to refine it this year and add more and more content towards these content areas. So again, you get full text from all these publishers and society in one search, but it's not only static full text. What we do is we try to digitize most of the tabular information from these almost 14,000 titles. And what you get with that is our material property search. So if you're, for example, in material sciences and you're looking for a certain material or substance, you can enter the name here, and then you can filter down by the properties here on the right-hand side. So in this case, density and the Young's modulus, and you will hopefully find materials that suit your needs. Or you can just leave it empty. And if you're only looking for certain materials, but you don't know the name of the material or substance yet, you can just work with the properties and say, my metal needs to have a certain density and needs to have a certain Young's modulus, and you will ideally get results from this tabular information from Knovel. This is how a table would look like in Knovel. So this could also be a result of your previous search for metals or for generally substances. And what you can do here is, it's not just static like in a PDF. You can select now certain materials here, and you can also easily export them if you need them. But you can also take advantage of simplified functionalities like you recognize from Excel, for example. So you can filter in here, you can sort, and then hopefully finding those things that you will need. I will also show in the live demo how that looks like in the platform, and you're also very much invited to join me for this live search. So if you have pardon, access to Knovel, then you can also search along with me or choose different searches. We have also digitized a lot of graphs from Knovel. So if you come across, if you, for example, are reading in a title on Knovel and you find a graph that looks very interesting and you see this live graph button, then you can click on this live graph, but you can also search for them, and you get a functionality where you can just hover over these graphs and pick up your data points. You see it here on the left-hand side, appearing x-axis and y-axis, and you can also easily export this and use this for a PowerPoint presentation, for example, and this you can export into Microsoft Excel or equivalent products. Yeah, so what you would normally do is, if you have it as a PDF, you might print it out and you go over with ruler and pencil and pick up your data points here. We offer you a digital way. You can still use it as a presentation, or you can also share your findings then with others. So it makes it much easier for you. You have it again in the platform, and you don't not need to print or leave it. We have now also more than 3,000 equations available for you. And this is also something I would at least recommend you to have a look and then decide if you want to work with it. And you can search through all these equations we have. And if you would like to work with one, then you open a Knovel equation solver worksheet. And you see then here the legends with variables and units and the actual calculation further down. And again, this is just an example. And what you could do is you could, after you read the legend with variables and units, go into the calculations and change your variables here, and your result will also change accordingly. I'm not sure if we still have time today for that. If we are good on time, I will make an effort to show you that, and otherwise I will for sure demo it in the next session, so for more advanced functionalities. But you can also set up your own equation in here if you would like to do that. You can also change the equations in here. That is also all possible. And of course, save it and export those. Then there is my Knovel, and this is the place where you can organize yourself. So you see I have some folders here on the left-hand side, and I'm personally a person that still organizes himself into folders. So I have folders for all different projects, for example, I'm working on. And you could do the same. Could open a folder for your capstone project, for example, or for your thesis, or for just a presentation, and save content from Knovel in these folders. What you've seen here is also that you can save, or you can also add your study group, for example, into that whole folder, and then take advantage of your findings. So when you find something that is interesting, save it into a folder, and you can share this folder then with others if needed. Also, another scenario is if you are a teacher and you want to share course material with your students, you could set up folders for your courses in here and then invite your whole group to share these folders, and you can say, hey, please, for example, read this title before the next lecture to prepare yourself. Or you could say, if you read these 10 titles and you work through these tables, then you're good to pass the exam at the end of the term. I will also show you that in a little bit more detail later on. You can also generate title lists and export those into a learning management system. Again, if you're not picking something up that you have particular interest in, make yourself a note or drop it into the chat box. We have some time at the end, and I will try to give you the answer or show you something in more detail if needed. Okay, so for those who are already familiar with Knovel, or at least a little bit, I also want to give you an update what happened in the last 2 years to Knovel, because we keep on developing it. It's also my ask. If you see something that you like, let us know, but also if you see something that needs improvement, if we need to add more content, for example, or other functionalities, please also let me know. I'm well connected to our product development team, and they are very happy to welcome your suggestions to improve Knovel in the future. So we have integrated the Knovel engineering newsfeed, and this is also something I will start the live demo later on with. And you can find engineering news from all around the globe, also in different languages, and you can take advantage of the information you're getting there. So in addition to all the full text on the platform, you also have an engineering newsfeed that is updated every hour, so you can really stay up to speed on a certain topic, on certain news. Again, I mentioned it that we have Springer Nature on the platform since last year already, so we have selected titles, and they are also available to you if you have access. We also added more engineering overviews, and this is also something that if you're particularly new to a topic, you can bring yourself up to speed very easily. So it's an engineering topic with all the different terminologies, and you can start reading about it and learn. And it can also be used in teaching and learning, but I will also show that later in the platform. Then on the right-hand side, we have also here new facets for industry searches. So this was also introduced last year already. So for example, if you're looking for a certain information on a certain topic, but you know, for example, that you want to limit your results down by the industry because you're, for example, interested only in the automotive industry, then you can do that with this new facet for the industry search. And by the way, we have also implemented filters now for conference proceedings, for example, and I will also show that later on how to use that. So this is also rather new, and I highly recommend to use this if you already know the industry you're looking information in, because it can limit your search results in the end, the less you have to go through. New content, Patty's Industrial Hygiene, for example, the 7th editions was also added last year. And we have also lots of titles that can help you with your project management certifications. When I was still studying back in the days at the TU Dresden in Germany, I also, next to my actual studies, I took one of these project management courses, and I thought it was really helpful also for my current work to know more about project management. And all these titles are also available, and specifically the PMBOK now. This is also something that I want to share with you. We have it available in different languages. So not only in English, and this is also something we are still testing to some extent, to bring content in different languages to the platform. So if you're interested in project management and specifically in the PMBOK guide, you can read it in French, German, Italian, Spanish, Chinese, Korean, Arabic, Portuguese, and Russian. And we're looking also for more titles than we can bring into the platform in different languages. Also here, if you think that we're missing important languages, please also let us know. I'm happy to feed it back to our product development team. This year, we're also celebrating. So Knovel is now 25 years old. Also here, I wanted to show you that we're not just, let's say, fresh on the market. We are there for a while. And I also want to illustrate it with the content growth. So in 2001, there was still a handful of publishers on the platform. And over the years, you can see here on the right-hand side, you see the actual interactive data points on the right-hand side that we have available on the platform over the years. And here on the left-hand side, the technical references. And I told you that we are now around the 14,000 full-text titles that are available on the platform. So this is also thanks to all our customers and also, of course, end users, and they're really appreciating it globally. And again, it's not only used in the academic sector, it's also heavily used in the corporate industry. Okay, then I wanted to share a quote with you we got from a research engineer. After that, I will show you a little video to to illustrate how Knovel can be used in teaching and learning, and then we have a look into the platform and do some live searching. This is a statement we got a while ago from a research engineer in the US, and he told us that in Knovel you do the same thing you do with Google, but in Knovel you know it's exact something you can trust. Sometimes you find things on the internet you cannot trust. So this is the big difference. And this is also something I wanted to highlight again here. If you're in need of high quality technical information and you have access to Knovel, bookmark it. And next time you have a question, you can directly go to Knovel, or you find something on the internet on Google, for example, and you're not sure if you can use it. Double check it with Knovel then to see if this is something you can use. Okay, a little video I wanted to show you, and then let's say if that is working out. And it is for some reason not, so then we skip the video, and if you have time I will show you. Oh no, there it is, otherwise in the end.
This semester, your class is working through designing a bike. Your current assignment is to choose the material for the bike frame and provide the reasons why this particular material was chosen. Your professor recommends you consider the following during the assignment. What are the common types of materials used in bike frames currently? What properties are important for material used in a bike frame? What is the cost of those materials? What is the sustainability of the materials used? Starting a search in Knovel to find what types of materials are used in bike frames, searching bicycle materials provides an interesting set of results. Reviewing the first few results, you find some information about the common materials used. In Material and Design, the Art and Science of Material Selection in Product Design, Section 634 says, "The requirements here are primarily mechanical strength and stiffness to be achieved at low weight and acceptable cost." In 541.1, Bicycle Materials Trade-offs, the author says, "Steel, aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber all strive to achieve these criteria, but each differs in strength, stiffness, weight, fatigue resistance, corrosion, etc." Further, the author provides an interesting chart of each material and its advantages. Further research confirms the common materials used are steel alloys, aluminum alloys, titanium alloys, and carbon fiber. Each material meets the basic requirements but has trade-offs for stiffness, strength, durability, flexibility, and weight. Using Knovel's material property search, each material can be measured against one another by finding a material property to represent each. Starting with a material, you can find properties and values for each of the requirements. This allows you to compare how each material performs across the different requirements. To consider cost, using the previous keyword search bicycle materials, the title Materials Selection in Mechanical Design 3rd edition includes an interactive table which puts the weight of different materials against their expense. With this graph, you can plot points that show the approximate weight of the material versus its cost. Helpfully, the graph includes areas showing where typical bike materials appear. Final consideration should be given to the sustainability of the materials used. All have trade-offs. Focusing on the life cycle of a material and the energy necessary to initially manufacture and then recycle a material, a search in Knovel on life cycle aluminum alloys provides a graph showing similar materials used in the automotive industry and their energy costs. An example of the trade-offs, the energy cost to use aluminum alloys is high, but the material itself can be recycled multiple times. With carbon fiber, the energy cost is low, but it cannot be recycled. With the information gathered from Knovel, a material can be chosen and the reason provided. Which would you choose?
Okay, so this was
Christian, sorry, before you go further to demo, we have one question that I think would be good to answer before you will open the Knovel solution.
good.
So on the Q&A, it's about the content. Will all content stay permanent, or can you take out resources from Knovel? For example, Springer Nature. So it's basically a question, can something disappear from Knovel?
We of course have agreements with all the different publishers and society, and we had that previously that certain publishers or societies decided not to be part of Knovel anymore. So to be honest, that can happen, of course, but overall, and I also showed you that chart that we keep the content over the last year, like really growing, and we have now a lot of this content available. So this, I can't give you, or I can tell you that we're doing our best to keep content on the platform, but sometimes it can indeed be that it will disappear. But when these things happening, we're also trying to find alternative content. So that means if that content is, for example, available through another publisher or society, then we will also bring it to the platform.
Okay, I think that answers the question. Thank you so much. And let's go further.
Thanks. And if you have more questions regards to the content, I will, now that we're going into the platform, explain a little bit more in detail where to find different content sources and also where to find new content. So let's do that now. I will open my web browser, and if you like, you can do the same. And in my case, I'm using Chrome, but you can also use any other updated web browser in order to do that. I will also give you the URL now into the chat box. There we go. Oh, sorry, it was to host and panelist, now to everyone. So here you can just pick that URL from the chat box, and you can, if you have access, search along with me. So this is how Knovel looks like. So the URL is app.knovel.com, and if you have access through your library, for example, could be that you have different authentication methods. But if you're in the IP ranges, for example, of your library of your university, then it could very well be that you can just access it like that. I highly recommend that you log yourself in. You can see that in the right upper corner. So this is my own name, Christian here. And only then you can use all the functionalities of Knovel. Like you can save things, you can share things, and that's possible because you are logged in. If you already have an existing password and username, for example, from other Elsevier solutions like ScienceDirect, like Scopus, like SciVal, like Reaccess, you can just use this existing password and username and can also log yourself into Knovel. Now, back to the question that Rasmus just had a few minutes ago. We want to start with the content and where you can find actually an overview of all the different subject areas. That can be done here on the left-hand side in the toolbar. Yeah, here on the left-hand side, you have the toolbar, and you can have a look at this toolbar, and there is a tile called Browse. And if you click here on Browse, then you can see subject areas. So again, what I just did is I started on app.knovel.com. I went over to the right-hand side and I clicked on Browse. It's the tile here on the left-hand side. And here you can browse all subject areas. And to give you an idea what topics are or what subjects are covered in Knovel, we start here with A for adhesives, coatings, sealants, inks. And we end at W for welding, engineering, and materials joining. And everything in between, for example, chemistry and chemical engineering is a very strong subject area, but we're also covering computer hardware engineering. I'm just picking a few now here. We're also having food sciences on the platform. So if you're thinking more of the life sciences side, general engineering and project administration, nanotechnology, metals and metallurgy, sustainable energy and development, to just name a few. And you can discover them like that. So and the whole package, what you see here, is all we have available on content, and that would give you access to approximately 14,000 full-text titles. And if you want to see what's behind of one of these subject areas, and maybe we go to chemistry and chemical engineering, you just click once on the subject area, and you see the references and, if available, also the equations. And what we see now here is that we have 1,244 different references in this subject area and 269 equations. And now you can go just in here and sort them, for example. And I want to, for example, show you the newest ones. So I want to illustrate that we also provide access to the latest titles out there. So this one, for example, Chain Mobility and Progress in Medicine, Pharmaceutical and Polymer Science and Technology, is from 2025. And it's also highlighted as new title, Data Book of Antioxidants. And I know not everybody on today's webinar is interested in these topics, but I had to choose a couple also in the next searches that hopefully triggers your interest, but feel also free to search for things that are more your interest than those examples I picked. Okay, so this is the first thing I wanted to show you. So it's again under browse, you have all the subject areas, and you can sort the titles in the subject areas, and you can, if you want to now read one of these titles, just click on the title. And in the next step, you will go into the table of contents. And of course, you see all the metadata here, the authors, the publisher, the copyright, the little introduction, and the actual table of content. And of course, some additional information here on the left-hand side, including the new titles that we recommend. If you are also interested in this title, there is a probability that you also might want to read one of those. And if you then want to go into the introduction, for example, here, so chapter 1 is just one more click, and you go into the full text. What I promised earlier is that everything is full text on the platform, so you can just read it from here. So what we now did is we went to browse, we picked the subject area, we picked the title from that subject area, and now we are already in the middle of reading a chapter in this title. And here we have also different options, so we can still switch to another chapter on the left-hand side. But if there's something that is of our interest, we have also options then to save it. We can cite from here. Maybe I also show you that now. If you want to save it, you click on that save button in the right upper corner here. You click on save. It looks like there is a... And you can add this resource. Still loading. Maybe we try again later. But you can also click on cite to actually generate the citation, and you have the option to just copy to the clipboard. You can export this citation into RIS, BibTeX, and plain text. So choose your format of choice, and with just one more click, you can generate the citation from here. It is also possible to download a few chapters if you need that as PDF. But keep in mind, if you have access to Knovel, you have usually access 24/7, so you can also always come back in here. So there's no need to download a lot of chapters. You can also organize yourself in here. And you can also share something in here. So if you, for example, work in a library, or you are a student and you find something that you want to share with another student, you just click on the share button, we generate the URL for you, you copy the link, and then you can just share it through Teams, for example, or email. So this is one way to dive into Knovel. Again, here through browse, and then you can go into the subject areas and choose one from there. Maybe good for the beginning, but it's not my preferred way. My preferred way is always searching, using the search functionality on Knovel. And this is what I show you just in a minute. But there are also some other things I wanted to highlight before we start searching. If you go back to the homepage, you click on the little house here in the toolbar on the left-hand side. Yeah, in the left upper corner, it's a little house, and you come back to the homepage. And the next thing is the engineering newsfeed I also briefly introduced on one of my slides in the presentation. That could be something you could do every morning when you started up your computer and you still enjoying your first cup of tea or coffee. Then you can have a look at the engineering newsfeed. And if you want to see all of it, you click on the button View All. In the right lower corner, again, I show you one more time. So you're on the homepage of Knovel. In the right lower corner, you have the engineering newsfeed. And if you want to open this, you click on View All, and then you get a new tab up here. And also giving you this URL right away into the chat box if you want to use it from there. And here you see we have also different languages, of course, and this newsfeed is then updated every hour. You can see this one was added 1 hour ago, and you can get information around recent news on a certain topic. And you see we have also different industry listed up here: aerospace, automotive mobility, chemicals, civil engineering, education, electronics and electrical engineering, energy, and so on and so forth. And you can also unselect them if you're only, for example, interested in energy. You check the box, or you can also open it and you see also the sources we are using in here in order to get you the information. Again, all very trusted and reliable sources. And you see then that there are a lot of information around energy in here. And you can also search through the newsfeed for search terms that are relevant for you. So this is something I wanted to show you. Again, that could be something you might want to check every day or every here and then, but that gives you, in addition to all the full text titles on Knovel, also a way to understand what is currently in the news. Could be also a corporate, or could be search terms that you enter here and find your information on that. We close it again, and we are still back in that first tab we opened. And another thing is here, for example, the Knovel 25 years, and you can also have a look at this website. So you will see some information how Knovel developed over the last years, with also some customer statements that could be of interest, and we can you can read about that if you like. If you just click here on Knovel 25. I just see a question popping up: how to access Springer Nature content. So there are multiple ways. My recommendation is still, if you want to search for a topic, you can do that here in the search box, and this is what we're going to do in just a minute. But if you want to see all the Springer Nature content, you can first of all click here on the advanced search, and here you have the option for publisher. And here you can, for example, just type in Springer and you search, and this one just showed 0 results. So we try with Springer Nature. So this is not currently working, so I will show you another way. So we go back into Browse, and we click here on the new content. And here the Springer content should also be listed. And I will try again the publisher search just a little later, but for some reason it's now not working. But if you want to also see engineering overviews, for example, about hydrogen engineering and the future of clean energy, or mechatronics, or engineering ethics, then you can just also use our engineering overviews. And I want to show you the one for the plastics in the circular economy. And if you want to learn more about this topic, you click this button here. And what we get here is an overview on the whole topic, and also some top industry searches here. And this is also not static. You can click on all the terms here, like circular economy, mechanical recycling, and everything that is listed here on the chemical recycling, mechanical recycling, and biodegradability. And everything here is also clickable. If you click on one of these terms, you get deeper information, in-depth information on this term, like for example here pyrolysis, and you can read more on Knovel about that. Gives you a good overview if you're a new topic and bring yourself up to speed, but it can also be used in teaching and learning. And of course, we give you the newly released titles in here. And you can go further down and you see also the essential resources for this topic. And again, we have many of these. And if you want to see all of them, you click here again on the homepage on Explore More Topics. And you see the overview for additive manufacturing and 3D printing, over communications, critical property data for chemical engineers. Over here also to making sense of data is the one very interesting, and also to stress concentration factors. And I also give you this now into the chat box. There we go. And you can have a look at those. Okay, it's time for some searching, and you see we have one search box and we have also the advanced search I tried to show you. I will try again later. But if you want to search, for example, solar cells, then you see while I'm typing, Knovel suggests me also different terms here: solar cells, IBC solar cells, and so on and so forth, and also the first resources like printable solar cells. So this is something I could just choose and read. But in my next example, I want to show you how to search. So you put your search terms in the search box, and you can also combine different search terms with Boolean operators like and or not. And then you just search for solar cells in here while you're clicking on the button. So now we have searched Knovel. And again, this is also my recommended way of approaching the content here, because we have many different titles. And if you're looking for a very specific title and it's not on Knovel, chances are high that we have an alternative title that provides you with similar information. So don't look so much for a book title here. Look for the information you are in need of, and we will suggest you also other sources for that. For solar cells, we see we have now more than 2,800 results, and this is just a lot, and that's why we can filter here on the left-hand side. And you see we can filter by books, by case studies, also something I highly recommend to have a look at, by chapters, by conference papers and conference proceedings. These are also two filters we introduced last year, but also graphs, table information, and so on and so forth. And you can also filter further down by concept, by engineering concept if needed, by the industry, I also mentioned that earlier, and by date and authors. We would like to see, let's say, case studies for solar cells. So we check the box in here and we apply it. And then the next step, we get case studies around solar cells. But again, that can be any other search that is of interest for you. And if you see something that we want to know more about, then we can just, again, click here on the title, and then we can go through this case study in here. We can always use the browser navigation to go back. So if this first result is not what we are looking for, then we have a look at the next one, a case study for solar cars. We click on here and we see the next results. We see here the case study for solar cells. And again, we can go back with the browser navigation again. If this is not what I want to see, I can also just uncheck it and, for example, choose conference paper, conference proceedings, but also maybe graphs. This is also something I want to show you. If you check the box for graphs and you apply it, then you get all graphs related to solar cells. And just, I have one interesting graph here that shows us the thickness and the efficiency. And if I want to open this graph, I click on here on the Open Graph button. And then the next step, I get my graphs in here. And again, the x-axis shows me the thickness in micrometers, and the y-axis, the efficiency in percentage. And now I can go in here and I can pick up my data points if I need to do that. For example, here. And what's happening now is that I can move these dots in here. Now on the left-hand side, I get here the data I just highlighted on the graph. If I would like to export this, that can be done. So we export here, and I want to show you how that looks then as a JPEG. And it's downloaded, and you see here, I can integrate this into a PowerPoint presentation, for example. If I go back to Knovel, now I also want to have the data here I just picked from the graphs. I can also export this as, for example, Excel. And I also want to show you how this looks. And you see we have now here the data set 1, the thickness and the efficiency, and these are the ones I just picked up, and I can export them very easily. So I can easily also find those graphs, and again I can use the browser navigation to go back, and in case I want to see tabular information, I can uncheck the graph one and I see the tables. And here I get, for example, measured temperature coefficients for various types of solar cells used in space, and maybe this is something I'm interested in. I can also use that table and open it. And I see my solar cells here, the cell types, the temperature, and the efficiency at 20 degrees Celsius. And also here, this can be saved, downloaded, and exported, and also cited from here. And if you want to see the text that this table came with, you can also click on here, View Text, and then you get the context of here from the Practical Handbook of Photovoltaics, and you can read the context, and here you have then your table. So this is also something that can be of use, because if we see tables, most of the time they are static in a PDF, for example, and we can't really do anything with those. Here you can easily download this table as well. I show you maybe this time as an Excel again, and we have easily downloaded this table, and here it is, and we can continue working with this table and other tables, start plotting from here in Excel. So we have a few minutes left, and what we did so far is the following. We started here at Browse. I showed you all the different subject areas we have available. We also had a look at the homepage. I showed you the engineering newsfeed, and I showed you a few of these engineering overviews here you find in the middle. And another thing I wanted to show you today is then, first of all, I wanted to go back to our solar cells here. So we're doing another search, solar cells. And in this case, I want to limit it down to perovskite solar cells. So I connect solar cells with the Boolean operator AND, as you can see here, to perovskite to make it more specific. And I search again through Knovel. If I want to see a result now here about perovskite solar cells, I can open it again, and I can read here about perovskite solar cells. There's also a way of saving it. Let's see if that works right now. It's not working, unfortunately, but usually you have a button here that tells you save, and then you can save it. Or you can also add notes here on the right-hand side. You see I've added previous notes here. I can also delete those. For example, I also want to delete this one, and here I can then also highlight text I might be interested in. I can go in here, highlight this text, and I can also add a note telling me that I want to use this for my thesis. I can also color code my notes in here. I add this note, and next time I come back into Knovel, I log myself in. So this is important to use this functionality. I know that I left off here and I wanted to use this particular piece for my thesis. And of course, I can share content with others. And let's see if I have an existing folder over here. That can be done in my Knovel. Again, I'm now back on the left-hand side in the toolbar. I click on my Knovel, I go to my Knovel, and here I have a couple of folders as well. And unfortunately, I was not able to set up a folder right now. But if we take one of my existing folders here for Cephi, for example, I could add more content, and I can share this folder now with my study mates. So I could all enter your email addresses here and grant you either full access or read-only access. So this way you can collaborate in one folder if you like. in a study group, for example. Or you can, if you're, for example, in teaching, then you can add more content in here. You can export this for a learning management system here. And we generate the HTML code for you. You just copied it to the clipbox and you can use it in Moodle, Blackboard, or Canvas. Okay, there's also unit converter. If you're reading something in here and you're not particularly familiar with one of the units, you can always use the unit converter here on the left-hand side. And you see I've converted some units before. The pressure was in PSI, and I was interested in bar. But we can also just pick, for example, the temperature. And I want to know what 100 degree Fahrenheit is in degrees Celsius. So this way I can easily convert my units. And I know that 100 degree Fahrenheit is now 30.7 degree Celsius. And if you're done with it, you can also just move it back into the toolbar. Okay, we still have a few minutes, so I want to show you the equations after all. So if you're interested in equations, if you want to calculate, you can go into the toolbar again here on the left-hand side and you click on equations. You go to equations home and you can choose from over 3,000 different equations. And I just show you one of them now. I usually choose the one from chemistry and chemical engineering and from fluid dynamics. And here we want to use the Bernoulli equation, the second equation. So you can just click on here and then we get an introduction into this equation, and we see the equation here with variables. And if we want to work with it, we click here on Open Worksheet. And here we see that, again, we're working with the Bernoulli equation, and it tells us what this is for. We see the legends with variables and units further down. And what we can do is now we can go down to the equation here, and we can also just go in here and, for example, change the pipeline elevation at 0.2. It's now at 10 meters. And if we now go in here and change it to, let's say, 15 meters, then we also see that our result will change accordingly. And again, this is just a quick example. There's much more to discover in here. And you can also download these worksheets if you want to do it, to present it, to use it. For example, also in MathCAD 15, that's possible from here. But you can also design your own equations here on the right-hand side with all these options we have. But this is something we need more time, and maybe we do it next time. But again, equations are also at your service here on the left-hand side. Okay, we went through a lot already today. So I showed you in the beginning under browse the subject areas to summarize here. So here you can get a good impression on what is covered in your Knovel subscription. We also had a look at tools and content here, and specifically at the engineering overviews. Also something that might be interesting for you. We also had a look at search for solar cells and different options to filter down the results, and also how to save. That I will also show you next time again. And I also showed you the equations, the unit converter, so you get a good understanding also together with the slide deck in the beginning what Knovel can offer you. And hopefully I could also show you ways in order to get to content. And I understand that you might have a different focus than I do have here. So please feel free to search as often as you like a Knovel, and also take advantage of the engineering newsfeed. If you get stuck at some point or you want to recommend it to somebody else, we have our LibGuides, and I will also copy and paste this now into the chat box, so you can put it into it's in the chat box now, so you can pick it up from there. So here we have an overview on the basic functionalities and also the video I showed you earlier that you can watch again about how to design a bicycle. Getting started, how to create an account, for example, using Knovel, and so on and so forth. And this can give you, again, a good reminder of how to use it, or we can just share it with others. And there's also a website that is showing you different options we have for teaching and learning, also with a couple of videos in here, and also some customer success stories. Maybe you want to have a look at this as well. I also copy and paste this now into the chat box, so you have this also at your service. The very last thing I want to show you is if you're still tempted to use Google, there's also a Knovel browser extension that you can install in Chrome and also in Edge. This is the next link I give you, and this works as follows. So if you're looking for information on Google, google.com, and you're interested in, let's say, carbon steel, and you get the usual results here. You get, of course, things from IKEA here. Makes me want to buy all these things, but this is not what I was looking for. But in this case, because I have installed a Knovel browser add-on, you see that here in the right upper corner, Knovel pops up and tells me, hey, why don't you look for information on Knovel for carbon steels? And if I click that pop-up, I can easily go from here into more relevant information around carbon steel on Knovel, and I can take it from here. Okay, then let's have a look if we have questions.
So Christian, there is actually one question from Sergiusz. Can Knovel summarize a book chapter for me?
Not yet, we're working on that. So again, we are also heavily interested in how AI can make your life easier here. And you probably noticed it from other solutions, from Scopus or from Science Direct, that we have it there. And Knovel is a little bit more difficult because we have all these different partnerships with other publishers, with other societies, and it's just a lot of work to convince them that we can apply these technologies also to these third-party contents. But we're working on that, and at some point, I'm confident that we will also provide solutions like that. Again, we're on it, but it's much more difficult because we have so much content from other content providers on the platform.
Thank you, Christian. I think that's all in case of questions. Let me just quickly check if there is something. Okay, so we have a next question from Natalie. Does the person who receives a document you shared need to have an account on a Knovel?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to invite others to join your folder, for example, then they need to be registered with Knovel. Only then they can join your folder, so you can collaborate. But again, that's rather easy. You can set up an account if you don't have already an account with Elsevier for Scopus, Science Direct, and so on and so forth. Otherwise, you can just use your existing account and also log into Knovel.
Okay, thank you. And I think the last question that we will take, are there any other Boolean operators, not and or something else that could help us?
Yeah, there is also the support center, and this is indeed also something I wanted to show you. If you get stuck somewhere, there is the support center in the right upper corner here, and you can click on that, and you get also, after just a minute of loading, let's see, we have here options for searching, and you can find also other ideas on how to perform a search on Knovel. But and or not are the most common used. We do not have proximity operators on Knovel. just as a heads up here, as you probably know from other platforms. But indeed, if you want to know more about the details and how you limit your search, you can find it here in the support center, or you can also use the advanced search. We had some hiccups here. There are also some recommendations and how you can take advantage, like here the asterisk or the question mark. You can use that, also will help you.
Okay, super. I think that's it. Thank you all for attending the session, and most of all, thank you, Christian, for delivering this webinar. I hope that it was interesting and useful for our audience. And we encourage you guys to open Knovel, to explore the content of the platform and different functionalities that Christian presented today. And please remember, we will have following webinars. So if you will come up with next questions, just join us for the next webinars, and we will do our best to help you. And as announced at the beginning of the webinar, you will receive the recording of this session and also all additional links listed on the chat. I will also copy them to the email so you have everything in one place. Thank you once again. Thank you, Christian, and see you all on next webinars. Goodbye.
Thank you for joining. Bye-bye. See you next time.